Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Today, let's talk Ingrid and the Fate of World Tour. So we already covered it in another video, but it was worded by Capcom that basically World Tour might be going away. Like, we could argue semantics on the wording they use, and apparently the Japanese version of the tweet and announcement has different wording that makes it sound much more final. But yeah, we're going to go into spoilers here. So FYI, so if you're going to duck out now. But yeah, it looks like World Tour is going away. The Ingrid World Tour has a sense of finality to it. To the point where it's the Donnie Darko ending. Like, they changed the timeline, and basically with events that happened that we'll talk about, that means basically World Tour didn't happen. It's all kind of one gigantic retcon. So we'll go into detail on everything with the lore and Ingrid and World Tour. One fun little thing first. So in regular World Tour, if you're in Nashal at night, there's a chance you might see a UFO flying around. That's kind of always been there as far as I know. And that UFO has finally landed. It's only in the Ingrid One Fateful Day part of the campaign, but it's there, it landed, and you can't go any further up the mountain because there's a UFO up there. Could be an Easter egg, could be a portent of who knows what to come, but it is there, so I just wanted to point that out. So now let's get into Ingrid and the lore. So Ingrid herself also has been retconned just a little bit, because in older texts they always said explicitly she's an alien. And she's not an alien, she's just basically God, for lack of a better term. She's everything, everywhere, all at once. And she does have fond timeline memories because she's multiversal, so she remembers her appearances in Street Fighter Alpha and meeting Ryu when Ryu himself doesn't necessarily understand what's going on. And also remembers Bison stealing her Sun Crest in this Alpha timeline that never actually happened in the main timeline, apparently. And later on in World Tour, she goes on to say Psycho Power is actually extra bad as it can unravel the multiverse itself. So she basically puts the boots to Bison as like a, hey, mind your P's and Q's sort of deal. Giving him a, I can do this whenever I want, anytime I want. So be a good little boy or else Mama Evil Ingrid is coming. And I won't hesitate to wipe you off the map. And does end up with apparently further adventures of Ryu, because she's wondering what Ryu's up to and he's got himself into something else. So I can't say no to this, off I go. Which you could argue is another Capcom versus SNK 3 hint. We certainly haven't been hurting for those if you've been checking out some of the Fatal Fury updates that we've covered in videos. And Ingrid, as we've also mentioned, is basically the perfect reason for a storyline / lore reason for Capcom vs. SNK 3 to exist to begin with. As well as a justification for, say, further guest characters in Street Fighter 6. But then again, no World Tour. You don't need lore justification fully, because this is about it. So what's the main crux here? So we do a lot of Ingrid stuff yet, and we'll cover that. But the main crux is you meet somebody who's kind of untethered in time, and you are gonna change their fate. And who is this mysterious person, you might ask? Well, if you played World Tour, you might know the outline just a little bit. This is somebody we've seen before. It's your buddy Bosch. You know, the guy who died at the end of World Tour storyline. That was always one of the things I was wondering is, if World Tour is ending, we got the bad ending. Like, it was always that since launch, but yo, you go fight the tournament, Big Bad JP kills your friend, and what do? You give him prepaid credit cards and candies and listen to him talk about his cats while you learn his moves. It's not that Bosch was a loose end, it was just a bad, sort of nonsensical ending. And they kind of tease you with this very early on into the Ingrid World Tour, like letting you know Bosch is here, like, hey, his character model exists. He actually was referenced in the Sea Viper World Tour too, just to show that they didn't fully forget about him. But I guess it was always a loose end, at least as far as they're going, because like, oh yeah, we kind of screwed him over a little bit. But Bosch kind of kicks off this World Tour, you meeting Bosch, and he is also the end of the World Tour. So only after you achieve full mastery with Ingrid and do everything else do we come back to Bosch. So We're going to come back here with Mosh's lost spirit and all that in a minute, but now for the everything else. So now some Ingrid stuff. One thing for the power scalers out there, Ingrid can destroy realities with a crack of her knuckle. So is she stronger than Akuma? Yeah, probably a little bit. Some of the things she's mentioned are like a cosmic guardian. Sometimes she has to cull timelines that aren't good for the multiverse. And that means she can take out anyone at any time. Also, as a cosmic being, she does confirm that it is turtles all the way down. Turns out that's how it is. Read a book, kids. And also, if you want to know the quickest way to do a cosmic being's heart, it's prepaid credit cards. Don't worry, that's the gold ticket for anybody. And she does go through the question of like, why is she even here? Because like as a cosmic being, like what's the point? Isn't this beneath your notice? And as we mentioned there, Bison is sort of part of it here because Bison's psycho power and everyone who's using psycho power can have consequences on the multiverse. And basically it's a bad time for that to happen. Like, now, will this be explored any further? Probably not, because World Tour is ending. But just like, hey, this is bad. Turns out the bad guy is bad, so that's part of the reason I'm here. Also, Ingrid is responsible for all sorts of things in history. Like, hey, she's the reason magic exists. And in other conversations you'll have with her, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm ghosts. I'm Bigfoot. I'm Mothman. Like, I'm every... boogeyman that the world's ever thought. That's all me. We also delve into the Capcom All-Stars equation. So remember, she's, yes, in Capcom Fighting Evolution as her first game, but she was originally going to be in Capcom All-Stars. That was going to be her debut before the game got canceled. And one of those things that she was labeled in the game was a code holder. So you can see her with the other, from the canceled All-Stars game characters, that were code holders. And basically giving a little flimsy explanation as to what code holders even are. Now, showing this art, does this mean Capcom All-Stars 2.0 coming? I don't know about that. We get some new lovely art with Ingrid that showcases some other fun characters that we would definitely prefer over All-Star characters. Like the Darkstalkers, yes, she talks about Capcom Fighting Evolution. Dimitri, Pyron, even Hauser, the dinosaur, right? So she talks about this. This all happened to her canonically because, multiverse theory, blah, 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 because with multiverse, everything's possible. But yeah, she specifically calls out the demons of the Makai. Those are the Darkstalkers. And the year of our Lord 2026, this Ingrid World Tour mode might be the closest thing you're getting to new Darkstalkers art being drawn. So take the wins where you can get them, I guess. Perhaps through the grace of Ingrid, specifically, Darkstalkers are not dead. Also, if you've been wondering why Ingrid could lose given her powers, they actually have a reason for it, that our universe is too dumb and backwards, basically. So she cannot manifest her full power in the Street Fighter universe. So in a pure punch-kick karate context, she can win or lose matches. But sort of the crux of the main Ingrid plotline, as opposed to the Bosch stuff which comes at the end of it, is since there's multiverse, there's more than one Ingrid. And one of the alternate worlds you get put into might be up for unscheduled destruction by a different Ingrid. So in proper World Tour fashion, you gotta put the boots to her, right? One of the things, I did like this actually quite a bit. So since this is Ingrid and Ingrid can do whatever, whenever, Ingrid makes you fight yourself. And seeing my beautifully crafted World Tour character and seeing a lot of them all at once, I don't know, I found that a pretty enjoyable moment. Still had to kick their heads in because, that's how she go. But it was interesting, I've done a lot of the World Tour stuff and fighting myself definitely is a new one, especially it was like a whole horde. There's like 20 of them you have to beat. But basically to shut down this rogue Ingrid, you got to bring her to your Ingrid, who is not terribly impressed. Also, Ingrid is a different color because they let you switch her color at a certain point, which, sure, whatever, cool. But yeah, you form a tag team, you beat this Ingrid, put the boots to her, and That's about it. And all Ingrid has to do is like, yeah, you're in the wrong. And then the other Ingrid's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess you're right. So see ya. Bayonara, right? Like, simple enough, I guess, to save reality. Okay. But yeah, so now that you wrapped up the main Ingrid plotline, she's like, hey, we're pals, basically, right? How about I irrevocably mess up the timeline just to help you out? Because, just a little treat, right? So she mentions the whole Bosch stuff and is like, you know what? If we bring him back, it wouldn't really mess up the multiverse that much, so maybe we can do it. And thus we begin untying the knot of fate between you and Bosch, because when you guys are together, he's destined to die, so we need to undo it. And we go through a lot of his pivotal moments. Now here's the thing, my character was a very different character when the game started. So for old Bosch to fight this version of the character, now that I think about it, is quite funny, especially because he's level 1, right? And you're a lot stronger. And in fact, Luke brings that up. It's like, buddy, you're a little bit stronger than you need to be around here. So yeah, we need to take these pivotal moments of you and Bosch and change how things worked. So when you first fought, okay, instead of like a close battle, you just cleaned each other's clock. We go to Jury, and Jury does not get to capture him this time around. You scare her off, so again, just little chinks in the timeline, right? And then we keep progressing from there. You beat Bosch when he's infused with Psycho Power, which is like, they should be doing this backwards, really. Because if you saved them from Jury, then this shouldn't have happened. But it's, well, whatever. It's explained as you're untying the knots of destiny, right? So all these things that happen to him are starting to not happen to him. And then finally, before the big Nashal tournament, you put the boots to JP. So JP is not around to rig the bomb on the belt, and thus not around to blow up Bosch. And keep in mind, the more you do this, as you're unraveling the knot of you being entwined in each other's destinies, you also were not at the tournament. So the tournament comes and goes, and Bosch is the next World Warrior Champion. And that's it. We got the happy ending. And again, this is the Donnie Darko ending, basically. Bosch is alive and well. And he's alive and well, but it comes at the cost of your relationship. Bosch does not know who you are anymore. So you saved your bud, but that's it. So alive and well, he's a champion, but we're done. So at this point here, I don't know if you want to play the "Don't You Forget About Me" or like the Gary Jules Mad World song that was in Donnie Darko, whichever one is appropriate for you. But this is where we are now at. Bosch alive and well, and effectively, because you got removed from Bosch and all the events that ever happened that linked you two together, World Tour didn't happen. Like, rest assured, you can still walk around, you can still fight guys with cardboard boxes on their head and all that kind of stuff. But effectively, without explicitly saying it, like, so many of the people you meet in the main World Tour story only happen because of the events of you and Bosch going out together. So if you guys never hung out together and that whole stuff got unraveled, that means you did not meet or hang out with or fight or whatever the majority of people in the World Tour storyline. And thus, what is this final World Tour potentially has an extra air of finality in it, in that it's all one big retcon and like basically none of this ever actually happened. And so the big question mark of how this ends is, well, it never even really began to begin with, apparently. Which I guess on some level I appreciate they went out of their way to make sure they had a happy ending for Bosch, as that was the loose end. But feels a little hollow, I guess. Just feels like, hey, we're closing the door now. We'll kind of scramble to get as much of this done out of the way. And that's it. Because they have stated explicitly that like World Tour stuff with new DLC characters and all that going forward, that's not going to be launching day and date. Again, other translations with Japanese language posts make it sound like it's never happening ever again. So that might be it for World Tour as a whole. The big thing to take away, I guess, is now that Bosch is alive, we always wondered like, hey, Bosch and Li Fen, will these be DLC characters one day down the road? And now I guess the door is more open than it's ever been. Although I like Bosch is all right, but if say season 4 or 5, whatever, because rest assured there's gonna be a lot more seasons of Street Fighter yet, like whenever it happens, and say we don't have Ibuki because Bosch got picked. Like imagine people complaining about guest characters already as it is. If people are complaining about guest characters, no matter how big of a deal they may be, if we get Bosch instead of someone else, a more established Street Fighter character, then that's going to be an issue. But yeah, so that's World Tour. Like this might be the last one of these videos I make for the lifetime of Street Fighter 6. We'll see. Regardless how you feel about the ending, it is a pretty conclusive, definitive ending. You can call it a Donnie Darko ending, a Saint Elsewhere ending, whatever you want to do it. But like, we did all this, but then did we actually do this? I guess not. But that's where we're at for now. Maybe there's new ways to introduce lore into the universe, because Lord knows they didn't actually ever progress the plot of Street Fighter 6. We still don't know how the Illuminati ended up other than Alex beat him. We still don't know anything about G and why he was a big deal, and they tried to make him the biggest deal. Completely unanswered questions. We may never get the answer, which kind of sucks. Like, you know, Mortal Kombat, even if like recent games, the plot was sort of everywhere, they respect the plot, right? Street Fighter, we don't even know who won Street Fighter 2, right? Like the most important game in the genre, and we're still unclear in this tournament structure who even won the tournament. Who is the guy who got the Bison in the end? Like the comics or whatever, but the comics aren't. Anyways, I love my fighting game stories. I love my fighting game lore, and like I get all wound up about this stuff. So that all said, my friends, that's World Tour, I guess. So let me know what you think about the plot changes, what you think about World Tour in general, what you hope from World Tour, if there's more to come in the future. But that all said, that's it for me, and that's it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.